even recognize my own life. I mean, I didn't even have a vision for it back then because this opportunity has forced me to dream bigger and then dream bigger and then dream bigger. And I'm at a point right now, John, where I want to grow my capacity to dream even bigger.
Welcome to Simple Solutions, the podcast where big challenges meet practical answers. I've spoken on big stages. I've taught in classrooms. I've learned from some of the world's greatest speakers. And through it all, one principle remains true. Success leaves clues. On this show, we uncover those clues. We break down complex problems into clear, actionable strategies you can apply right now. So, if you are ready to grow, ready to lead, and ready to win, well, you are in the right place. This is Simple Solutions. Welcome to another episode of Simply Success. I'm your host, John Clayton, and today we got a very special guest. This lady here, she empowers women to achieve financial independence through financial services. Now, get this, her own personal pen, she did well over 1.2 million in issue business. She also has a nationwide agency with over 200 plus agents. So she's growing. And with those agents, she have 9 agency owners. And she's rocking in the top 4% in the insurance industry. That's how phenomenal this person is. She's also a senior vice president with Symmetry Financial Group. She's the host of Film Financial Podcast, and she's the creator of the Powerful You events. She put on a huge conference for women in Nashville. She developed leaders, and she champions people through personal growth. She's a wife, she's a mother, and she's also a successful entrepreneur. Please welcome Miss Pappas.
Thank you, John Clayton. You made me sound awesome.
Well, you know what? You are awesome. So I'm
You're
just actually
awesome.
giving you flowers while you are living. And I think that's important. And a lot of times people want to talk about the accomplishments once a person has passed away. And I think it's very important to let a person hear how you have impacted me and also other individuals. So I know you, but the people may not know you. So who is Sarah Pappas?
Oh my gosh. You just went really deep with that first question. Like, who is Sarah Pappas? Wow. Well, I don't know. Okay, I'm a child of God. I don't know what better way to answer that. I am a human being. I'm a spirit having a human experience on this earth. I don't know, man. I'm just having a good time exploring this amazing journey called life.
Absolutely. Like, you went deep on that answer. I started asking, what is your animal spirit and all this stuff? So I do understand right now, you are in insurance just like me. So how long have you been in the insurance industry?
Okay, so I got my insurance license, my life and health license back in August of 2012. So you can do the math whenever you're listening to this podcast. I think, a lot of us, I was telling actually just someone the other day, someone's like, I don't know what to do with my life. Maybe I should sell life insurance. I'm like, you know what? I feel like this industry is like this great big like receptacle of people who like haven't figured it out yet. Maybe they're like me, like a little ADD, maybe like dabbling in like a lot of different things, but haven't like, I know for me, when I got my license, John, I was like not sure what I wanted to be when I grew up at 36 years old. Yeah. And so it was just a season in my life where I'm like, I need to figure this out. And I kind of took some time to figure out like, what am I good at? I really love people. I love working with people. I've always worked with people. I thought maybe I'd be good at sales. And I
Mm-hmm.
had heard one of my mentors is Tony Robbins. You're going to hear me quote him all the time, but Tony Robbins
Okay.
teaches if you get good at sales, you can make $250,000 a year or more if you're good at sales, right? I was like, I'm good at sales. To me, John, sales is not selling something, twisting somebody's arm. Sales is literally like being an advocate, finding out what the need is, and then coming alongside that person and saying, hey, here's some creative solutions to fulfill that need, right? And so that's sort of why I got my license, because I felt like I wanted to sell something, and I had this whole list of what I didn't want to sell,
Yeah.
John. I didn't want to sell houses. I didn't want to get into real estate. I didn't want to sell cars. I didn't want to sell timeshare. I didn't want to sell pharmaceuticals, mainly because I didn't want to have a boss.
Yeah.
I was actually used to being self-employed. I had about 3, 4 different side hustles at the time. And being self-employed, you own your own time. Problem is, you don't always make the kind of money that you want to make. And again, that season of life that I was in, I was desiring both time freedom and financial independence,
Yeah.
right? We had some goals and dreams that we need some money to accomplish.
Absolutely.
And, I kind of just got open. I said, okay, here's what I don't want. I don't want a boss. I don't want to sell these things. I do want to sell people, sell something. I want to help people. I want to make money, but I don't want to also have to find my own clients
Yeah.
and be that like networking person all the time. What's the stereotype of the life insurance agent? The stereotype is
Hmm.
always showing up at the family events, like who needs some policies, right?
Right.
I didn't want to do that. And so I got really clear on what I did and didn't want. And then this opportunity literally came to me.
Yeah.
I feel like I drew it in somehow. I don't even think I did. I give all the credit to God.
Absolutely.
But I found this opportunity to sell something that I already believe in, life insurance.
Hmm.
How do I know that I already believed in it? Because I owned a policy,
There
right?
you go. Yeah.
That's like, hey, if you believe in something, you're gonna own it yourself. And I was like, I can definitely get behind life insurance. And then I found out that I did not have to cold call, door knock, or network.
Hmm.
That there are companies out there like the one that you and I are with, Symmetry Financial Group, that produces high quality leads
Yeah.
of people that already have a need and have a desire for this coverage. And all we need to do is call those people, make a connection, and help them with their needs.
Absolutely. And when you say it like that, that's not sales. That's just
No.
helping people. That just
Yep.
finding a demand or a need and you just supply it. All right.
Exactly.
And I can remember when I joined the company, I just kept hearing about Sarah Pappas, Sarah Pappas. It starts on the phone. I'm like, who is this Sarah Pappas? And then when I finally met you, I got a chance to meet the woman and also the heart. So
Well, thank you.
I know why you are in that 4%, the top 4% in the insurance industry. So let me ask you this: What do you think for the ones listening? How can someone break into that top 4% in whatever industry they are doing, like you did? What's some skills you think they may need?
That's such a great question. Like, how can someone break into the top 4%? I think, one of my mentors told me, in fact, one of my mentors, his name is Marshall Wayland. He is one of the largest insurance agencies in the nation. And he says to me, Sarah, the only difference between me and you is and activity, time and activity. So I always tell new agents, I said, the only way that you can fail in this business is number one, if you quit. But number two, John, I'm going to say this, you got to keep growing, personally growing.
Yeah,
Because I know for me, when I first got started, I did not have all the skills. I didn't have, I'm not the person that I am today. And your business is a reflection of you. Your business, it's like your baby. You like birth a baby, you have a business, right? And that business is going to reflect you. That's what babies do. And they look at you, they reflect, they mimic you. And so if your business is not growing or your business is small, that means, man, that means that I'm small. If my business is small, that means I'm small. And so I think those two things, man, what do you need to do to not quit, John? You need to have a little grit.
yeah,
You need to have some persistency. You need to hustle.
yeah,
I would say like grit, persistency, and hustle. That was the name of the game for me my first several years in this business. In fact, that was like my word of the year one year was hustle.
yeah.
You just got to get the lucky people get lucky because they're consistent. They're out
Right.
there, they're doing it, right? You might get lucky once, but if you're not consistently in the hustle, in the grind, and you have that grit and persistence, you're not going to do that. Those are the two things. If you want to break into the top 4%, it's going to take some time and it's going to take some activity. In fact, a lot of time and a lot of activity for most of us. But if you don't quit, and you continue growing yourself, then you will get there. It's just a matter of time. Anybody
Right.
can do it.
Like anything, it's a progression. But
Yeah.
let's talk about that grit. Because sometimes I talk to people, whether with insurance or maybe real estate, maybe trucking, and I say, well, I'm gritty. Like I'm sticking to it. But then you start looking at data. their activity, their numbers. Uh, it's not suggesting that they're already doing it. So, what is grit to you? What does that look like? And talk about when you first got started. How did you become gritty when you first started?
You know what I think the recipe for grit is? I think you need a good healthy dose of stubbornness.
Yeah,
I think you need to be so stinking stubborn that you're like, I am not going to let this thing beat me. You got to have that attitude of like, man, if that person can do it, I can do it. Right? Grit means like, no, I'm going to stick in there no matter what, even though it's hard, even though it feels messy. And like I said, the seed that creates grit is a good healthy dose of being stubborn. You just have to be stubborn to want it bad enough to say, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to let it beat me.
yeah,
Because like, here's the thing, if you quit, who said it? Vince Lombardi says when you quit, it becomes a habit.
yeah,
You don't want that to be your story, right? If you quit, you just let this opportunity beat you. This opportunity, in my opinion, John, this opportunity is the greatest opportunity on the planet. When
yeah,
this opportunity comes your way and you decide to take advantage of the opportunity and get into it, you got to be grateful for that opportunity, because this opportunity can absolutely change your life. It can change your family's life. It can help you create the life of your wildest dreams. What, you're going to quit and say you don't want that? You don't want that. Nobody is going to hand you a dream life on a silver platter. Nobody is going to put that silver spoon in your mouth and say, here you go. We get to create that for ourselves.
yeah,
And I can remember, man, John, I know you live in Memphis. I used to drive out to Jackson, Tennessee. That was my territory. We
yeah,
called it my honey bowl. I used to drive out to Jackson once or twice a week from Nashville, Tennessee, and I can remember like literally like crying the whole way home some of those nights. Crying. I'm not like a huge cry, like crying. And it wasn't like crying like, oh, boohoo. It was like anger. It was like stubbornness. It was grit. It was like me connecting with my why. Like, I am not gonna let this beat me. I had a shitty day.
yeah.
Nobody bought from me. Nobody, you know what I mean? And now I'm driving 2.5 hours home, but yet I have a dream.
Hmm.
And that's what I'm going to stick. That's the grit. That's the stubbornness, is that I have a dream and I'm not going to let it go. And I'm not going to let this opportunity beat me down, because this opportunity can be and has been, not just for me, but for thousands of other people, the best opportunity on the planet.
Absolutely.
So that's what I think grit means. That's my long version.
And we're gonna dive into it even more. So, but I want to ask you because you say you was driving from Nashville, Tennessee, to Jackson, Tennessee. How many hours was that?
It's just 2.5 hours. I always bought my leads within a 3 hour radius.
Okay.
Okay. So, because I figured 3 hours, I can drive there and back in one day. That's 6 hours in the car, but and then another what 8 hours visiting families in the car, in and
Yeah.
out. But I could do it within one day. And usually, actually, I got to the point. Now, I don't know if this is off topic, but I got to the point where I would drive to my territory, whether it was Birmingham or Jackson or Louisville, Kentucky. I would drive to my location, work the full day, stay the night, work the next day, and then drive home, and I could get a week's worth of production done in 2 days.
Okay. Yeah. I love it.
So that was, of course, we're old timers, John. You and I,
Yeah.
we know what it's like to go out to people's homes. You don't have to do that anymore. Again, the opportunity just got better.
Absolutely. We pay the way for the new ones. Now, I'm convinced either you drive super fast, Sarah, or I drive super slow. Okay, it takes me like an hour to get to Jackson, Tennessee from Memphis. But my wife says I drive slow. So I don't know. And you also mentioned that grit. I want to go back to that because in your intro, when I asked you who is Sarah Pappas, you say he was a child of God. And it just made me think about Jacob, when he wanted to get that blessing. And it talks about how he just wrestled with that angel, uh, wrestled all day, all night. But later on, it's talking about how he cried, he begged, and also he lost a hip. I think his hip got dislocated. So when you start talking about you being a child of God and having that grit, we have those examples, throughout books. Because you did mention personal growth, growing yourself. So what books are you reading to help you grow yourself and also develop others?
Okay, well, I can tell you what I'm reading now, but I can also tell you what I recommend to new agents and what I read when I was getting started that helped grow me as a new agent. Which one you want? You want them both?
I want them both. You know, we down to Sarah Pappas. Give us the secrets to becoming the top 4% uh, agent in the insurance industry. Give it to
I'll
us.
tell you what I'm reading right now and then I'll go the other one. So I'm reading a lot of this guy named Michael Singer. I'm getting spiritual in my old age, John.
Okay, that's good.
And in fact, I just went on a retreat with Tony Robbins called Happiness. And it was a 5-day retreat. He takes you to Abu Dhabi and he brings in all of the top researchers like from Harvard and from all the people that study and teach on how to be happy. And one of them was this man named Michael Singer, and I had read his book last year. It's called The Untethered Soul. But he came and talked to us, and he's just a lovely human being. And I bought his other book. It's called The Surrender Experiment. I just finished that. That was a truly awesome book. It's really all about just kind of surrendering to life and allowing life to happen and trusting and having faith. Okay, those are kind of like the main premises. And so I really enjoyed that book. And so now that I finished Surrender Experiment, I'm reading Michael Singer's third book, which is called something else that has to do with the untethered something something. So, but anyways, Michael Singer, How to Be Happy. But when I first got started in this industry, the first book that I got a hold of was a book called Go for No,
Okay.
which really helped me get my mindset right for the dials that we do, getting on the phones and setting appointments. I figured out really early on, John, that nothing in this business is going to happen if you're not on the phone, right? And you're not going to have appointments if you're not setting appointments. And so, if you need to set appointments to have appointments, it would make sense that setting appointments could probably be the most important thing in this business,
Yeah.
right? Like the most important thing. Because if I only have 4 appointments for the week, I might not have a good week. But if I have 20 appointments for the week, I can't have a bad week. It's impossible.
Right.
So, how do I figure out how to get good on the phones? That was literally my first question that I asked myself and the skills that I developed.
Mm-hmm.
Go for no was a huge thing. Then then I found out, man, okay, I got good at setting appointments, John, but I was not so good in the home. I was
Yeah.
not so good. I could make a connection, right? Somebody said, "Oh, what do? You just go out there and make a friend with somebody." Well, I was making lots of friends, but I was not helping them with their life insurance,
Making friends, but not making money.
right? They'd be like inviting me to like their barbecues and stuff. I'm like, "Yeah, but aren't we gonna?" No. So I realized that I had some skills to develop. Okay, so if you come here and you don't have the skills, it's okay. You can learn them. You can learn the skills. You can learn anything. So I got a book called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling
Mm-hmm.
by Frank Betcher. And this book, I loved it because it was written by a man who got into the life insurance industry. He used to be a semi-pro baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
Although I have never been a semi-pro athlete in any way, shape, or form, I could relate to coming into this industry from something totally different. And so I loved his story, and he shared in the book how he raised himself from failure to success, like how he developed the skills to during the Great Depression became a $1 million producer, $1 million producer during the Great Depression. So I learned how to ask questions. I learned how to dig in and get to the why. I read another book called The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino, which really truly taught me how to love my clients. I also realized that I had some judgment in my heart, John. I'm just getting vulnerable here. I had some judgment in my heart towards some clients. I'd sit there and I'd look at their finances and be like, how is it that you are in your 50s and 60s and don't have your stuff together? How are you still living like this or whatever? You know what I mean? I had judgment in my heart and I never connected enough to make sales on those appointments that I had judgment on. Well, Og Mandino showed me that you're not ever going to make any sales if you have judgment in your heart. I learned how to love people unconditionally. And
Yeah.
that was a huge gift to my heart. So again, I grew and then my business grew. So I developed these skills. I got the sales system from Tony Robbins. And listen to that over and over and over again. I learned about how to deal with people who are away people, people who you come towards them and they run away. How do you deal with people like that? I learned how to do that. So I developed my skills through reading, through listening to audiobooks. I had John Maxwell's book, Failing Forward, on repeat. Every time I be get in the car to go to another appointment, I listen to another story of somebody else's failure that eventually turned into a success.
Yeah.
So these are some of the books that shaped me. One other book that really shaped me was a book called The Magic of Thinking Big. And here's the thing, we get books all the time, right? Audible, Amazon, we get these books. How many of us actually read these books, right?
Exactly.
Most people get the books, but then they don't actually read them. And then how about this? How many people actually do the things that the author says to do in the books?
Mm.
So there's this book called The Magic of Thinking Big. And the author says in the book, he says, now I want you to write a 30-second commercial for yourself of the not who you are now, but the person that you want to be. And so I did it. I said, I want to be somebody that people listen to, that people respect. I want to be known as the authority in my field, that people trust, that I know what I'm talking about. I wrote this whole 30-second commercial and I read that out loud to myself every day before I get in the car. And then once you know, John, like a couple 3 months later, I lost I didn't know where that piece of paper was. Like, I don't know what happened to it. And then a few months after that, I pulled it out. It was like buried in my car somewhere. I pulled it out and I read it and I said, oh my gosh, I have become that person. And I'm so grateful for that book, The Magic of Thinking Big, because it taught me that I could create a new me.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I did. And that's where, and so becoming a top producer, that these are skills that you can develop, and helping families. And I think it has served me very well because growing an agency, it makes me very relatable.
Yeah.
Okay? Because for as many policies as I've sold, I've gotten 3 times as many no's, right? So yeah, that's kind of going off a rabbit trail here. I'm sorry, but
No,
let's
you're
get back
good.
to the books. Books that really influenced me when I first got started.
No, you're good. And I love that, especially when you talk about go for no. I can remember watching before I joined Symmetry, I never read anything after high school. So all my quotes and life lessons came from movies. And I can remember watching documentaries about musicians trying to break into the industry. One was the Temptations. And they were standing outside Motown day and night, just singing and singing because that's what they wanted. They're very passionate about it. And they kept getting told no. And then when I finally got signed, they sang it and they were known as the no hit Temptations because they couldn't have a hit. But now look at them, one of the greatest R&B singers from the early 60s and 70s. Because they kept going for no. And most of us, that word no, it scares us. It's like, oh my God, like you threatening them, but
Mm.
you kept pursuing it. And I love that. Now, not only did you grow yourself, you also developed 9 other agency owners. Talk to me about that, John, and what was that like for you?
Wow. I always wanted to build a team. I read my first John Maxwell book when I was 20 years old and I was hooked. I was like, this is what I want to be. I want to be a leader. I wanted to be what he was writing about. And so when I found this opportunity, I thought, oh wow, I could earn 6 figures on my own pen while I'm learning how and growing and developing a 6-figure income not on my own pen. And so building was always the end game. That's the long play. Okay. We can go out, we can make today money, but the tomorrow money is the long play. And that requires an even different skill set,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because when you step into a role of leadership, man, now it's like all eyes on you. And you've got to be, I can remember listing out like all the type of a person that I wanted to recruit. My ideal business partner, I remember getting really clear on who I wanted them to be. I wanted them to, be a person of character and integrity and have a family and, like all these things. I had this. And then I looked at my list and I asked myself, am I these things? because you attract who you are, not who you want. You're going to attract who you are. So that's why personal growth, you got to go on double time, John. You got to go on double time when you start growing a team because of that fact. You recruit who you are, not who you want, and then everybody's looking at you, right?
Mhm.
So but yeah, I always wanted to grow a team, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for my team. I have the best team in the world, and not just in Symmetry, but in the nation. I have the best team. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
People that I get to work with are the absolute best, and I pinch myself every day that I get to work with such amazing, amazing human beings. I'm
And I
grateful.
would second that. You do have a team. I met so many people in your organization, and they are top notch. So now, of course, I do have a great team as well. So I can't just say that, but nah, the people in the Pappas agency are really top tier people. Now, you also mentioned Tony Robbins a lot, because just this year alone, and these numbers could be inaccurate, but you already did over 4 million as an agency. So some people think, hey, that's the pinnacle. But even for you, you still seeking coaching with other people like Tony Robbins. You mentioned John Maxwell. Why are you still seeking coaching? And you making over 7 figures.
We did as a team, we did over 5 million last year, and we're trying to do over 5 million this year. But John, we can help so many more people. Okay? We can help so many more people find this opportunity, and we can help so many more people with the products, with the amazing products that we have at our fingertips. And so if we can help, you know, this many people thus far, how many more people are out there that could need us, that need a good agent that's going to treat the client well, that's going to understand the product, that's going to really truly help the client, not just out for commission, but somebody that's going to help a client. And that's our culture. And so yeah, we want to go from 5 million to 10 million to 15 million to 30 million, right?
Yeah,
We believe that we can do that, and there's people out there that need us.
absolutely. And talk a little bit about, Tony Robbins. How long have you been working with Tony Robbins now?
Well, I went to my first Tony Robbins I was gonna say my first Tony Robbins situation. My first Tony Robbins event back in 2012.
Okay.
In July of 2012, I went to a program called Unleash the Power Within, and it's 5 days. And I can remember being at that program like mind blown, and writing home like all my friends like, wow, I feel like I just experienced you know 30 years of therapy within a 5-day period. Like I just fixed my whole life, right?
Right.
Figured out how to be happy, got rid of all this negative baggage, what all of it. And it was wonderful. And that's where actually I got into some of Tony Robbins stuff. I bought his the next year when I got my insurance license. I got his sales system on CD. I was listening to that over and over in the car. So I have been to UPW, Unleash the Power Within, a few times since then. But a couple of years ago, we did something that at the time seemed like a little bit of a stretch, might have been a little bit crazy. But we joined his platinum partnership, which
Okay.
is an entire year of more intense mentorship, and you get access, and you actually attend like I don't know 12 of his programs within 1 year. It's like once a month you're going and doing and
Yeah.
participating. This is a lot of it's an immersion experience. All
Yeah.
right. And so when you're like immersed in it, and then you come out, you're a different person. So actually renewed again for this year. And this is my second year. And he takes you on a couple of like special trips just for the platinum partners, and you get some more like Tony time. I don't know
Hmm.
what you want to say. But it's been an amazing experience. And I'm still in it. I'm actually about to go to my last event for the year. And I can like I'm just looking back at the last, 18 to 24 months and saying, wow, look at how much has actually come of that and changed. So I'm a huge fan.
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing from you, to break into that 4%, you got to be greedy. You can't quit. You're reading, but you are seeking mentorship, even at your stage, because you want to continue to develop. I love that. Now, and you're not a slouch yourself because now you put on conferences. You put some on with Symmetry, but you also did one this year for women. Tell us how was that conference and what was the meaning and purpose behind that conference you did?
Thank you, John. So, another one of my mentors is actually Meredith Ellison. She is one of the founders of Symmetry. She turned me on to a book called The Epic something. Oh my gosh, I'm not remembering the name of it right now. But in this book, it teaches you to figure out like what is the one thing that you really truly stand for. Like if you, John Clayton, could just stand, if you as a human being were like, hey, this is what I take a stand for, and it's bigger than me, and it's probably like global. It's probably like this is what I believe in. It's just a big global belief. And I gave that some thought and consideration, and I thought, you know what, the stand that I choose to take for my life is that I believe that there is a world out there where every woman would have the opportunity for financial independence. Okay? Because when a woman can make her own money, she can also make her own choices. Okay? And so I have a dream that I would also be a part of helping educate young girls, women, because it starts with education, right? But then also be able to perhaps provide microloans, some sort of finance opportunities for women to start their own businesses. And that's a huge dream of mine on a global scale. But I've actually been able to do that already through Symmetry Financial Group
Yeah.
by helping women figure out how to achieve time and money freedom. And again, when you have that opportunity to make your own money, you can make your own choices. You can make a different choice. You can choose a better life. And so I started off last year kind of really connecting with that and saying, how can I contribute? If that's what I believe in, what do I have? I have 11, 12 years of experience in this industry. How can I use that to contribute to other women and inspire other women to maybe get involved, whether they work with me or not? And so that's where I started the Femme Financial podcast, which
Mhm.
we highlight women who are in the financial services, and we just ask them, how do you get your start? What's been your biggest challenge? We get to kind of know them and get some inspiration. And then, yes, I wanted to do a live event for women called Powerful You. We hosted it in Nashville this year. It was the first one, and it was great. Live events are always the best because when you get in person, you know
Yeah.
this, John. Like there's some magic that happens. There's a connection, there's a bond, and there's a magic that happens.
Well, I'll tell you, you definitely giving back. My wife, she has always been inspired by you. So the impact you are making on women is commendable. 'Cause we know that sales can be challenging. It's a male-dominated industry when it comes to insurance, but just in sales in general. But from my findings, I always learned that women are better than men in sales. I don't know. And I was told everything. I came from retail, and now I managed them. I mean, I managed McRae's and Belk, and our top sales associates were ladies. When I started managing S&K Menswear, which we were selling suits, our top employees were ladies. So
Yep,
women have a
it's
gift,
true.
when it comes to sales. Well, why do you think that? Why do you think women are salesmen
You know,
naturally, but we
I love
dominate
that
the
you brought
industry?
this up 'cause, you know, the first time I heard that, it was a long, long time ago. The first time I heard that, and somebody said, "Well, you know, women do better in sales," and I'm like, I got offended. I was like, "That's not true," you know. Like I was like, "No," you know. But over the years, John, I have come to believe that that actually is true. We do have an advantage. Why do I think that is? I think because we all come into this earth and we all have mothers.
Hmm.
And there's something about trusting a woman's empathy. A woman who can bring a little bit of empathy to the situation can really help with the sale, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Anyways, I don't know. That's just my answer. I don't know. I didn't really give that too much thought, but there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember I used to, like I said, when I was managing S&K, it was a men's suit store, and the guys had no problem telling me no. But whenever these two ladies in particular, they would help them, and they were attractive. So I guess the guys could not appear to be broke. So they just bought everything. Like, you want that suit? You want that suit? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. But no, they did have good sales skills. I'm just teasing. So what is next for Sarah? Where do you see Sarah going? We're approaching the end of 2024. We're going to 2025, so that's next year, and then maybe 5 years out. What do you
You
see,
know,
Sarah?
God, you asked me this question. I don't believe that you're actually growing unless you're stepping out of your comfort zone. Okay. And that's what I did this past year, starting the podcast and doing the event is way out of my comfort zone. But I also believe that you need to continue. If you find a new comfort zone and then you stay there, you're not going to grow. So although I have never aspired, I know there's people out there and there's people out there who've been like, I want to be a public speaker. That's what they say. They're like, I just always want to be on the stage. I want to be a public speaker. And I love that for them. That has never been me.
Right.
However, I feel called to do that. I feel called. I feel like I have a relatable message. I know that if I could do it, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if some of my stories of struggle and hardship can help somebody else, I want to do that. I want to contribute. I have opened myself up to speaking.
Yeah.
I'm speaking actually next week at one of Cody Askin's mastermind groups next week down in Miami.
Okay.
And I'm open to doing more of that and communicating and just sharing
Yeah.
and being open to just contributing what I have. I don't have anything special. Like I said, it's not been like, oh, I got to get on the stage and do this or that or inspire people. All I have is my experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that my experience is valuable and can help somebody else. So I
Absolutely.
want to get myself out there and help as many people as I possibly can.
Yeah. I think so many people stay in their comfort zone because they think they have something to prove. And one thing that one of my coaches in the past, Drew McClure, says, you don't have anything to prove, just something to give.
Mm,
That's it. Just
so
something to
good.
give. Not to prove
I
anything.
love that.
Yeah. And by you being on a big stage and you step outside the comfort zone, you are growing. And I just love the growth. Now, so I got a few more questions for you. How scary was it for you to step out of that comfort zone? Talk to me about that.
I mean, stepping outside of your comfort zone is scary for anybody. But let me give you an example.
Okay.
Let me give you that because fear is like all kinds of things. When you get fear of like whatever situation you're facing, I know for me last year, I had this fear of putting myself out there. What will people think? What if I do it wrong? What if I'm terrible at it? What if they hate it? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have all these fears in your head, and so part of this Tony Robbins experience, he took us to on an adventure trip to New Zealand this past May, and one of the things that I knew was on the docket was they took us to the highest bungee jump in all of New Zealand. Bungee jump, they tie your feet to a bungee and you jump off a cliff. Basically, you jump off a bridge or you jump off something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna do it. I knew I was gonna do it. I woke up on day one. They don't tell you it's an adventure trip, so you don't know what's happening that day.
Yeah.
There's like some fun things happening, but you don't know exactly what's happening that day. I woke up on day one, John, and I said, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready to jump off the tallest bungee in all of New Zealand. I knew it. Like I was like, if I got there, I would probably pee my pants. Okay.
Right.
I was like, I'm not ready. And so I was like, what do I need to do to get ready? And it was so far out of my comfort zone that I did like these 5 things to get ready for it. Number one, I had to create some meaning around why I'm doing this.
Okay.
Okay. Like, I'm not just going to jump off this bungee just to jump off it and be like, oh, I did that. Whoa. I needed some meaning behind it. If I'm going to put myself out there and do something scary, it's got to mean something to me.
Okay.
Okay. So I needed number one, I needed meaning. And so the meaning for me was, well, let me tell you, let me go through like my thought process. Okay. I needed some meaning, but I did these 5 things. It took me like, I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to know, okay, number one, I needed to have the meaning. Number two, I had to visualize it, like my success. I had to like, how like an athlete will visualize, crossing the finish line or making the goal or whatever it is. I had to visualize me doing it with confidence, not showing up scared, not doing it with, I had to visualize myself getting up on that platform and going for it, right? Just going for it. So I had to visualize it. The third thing that I asked myself was like, who am I doing this for? So the first one, the meaning, that's the why. Okay? Always starts with why. Always. Everything starts with why. Then the next question is who, because there's always a who behind the why. Always. And so I said, who am I doing this for? All right, so let's start with those three, okay? Because this I think applies to anybody stepping outside of their comfort zone. Number one, let's say you got to visualize it. You visualize yourself doing it. Number two, what's the why? For me, why am I going to jump off this bungee cliff? Why am I going to do this? And the meaning I gave to that, John, was, at that time I was 47 years old. I said, you know what? I know what the last 47 years of my life look like. I know them very well because I have lived them.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't know is what the next 47 years of my life is going to look like.
Okay.
Jumping off of this bungee is like a metaphor for the next 47 years. If I'm going to show up, I'm going to jump into the unknown. I'm going to have faith. I'm going to trust. I'm going to surrender.
Yeah.
And that's what that meant for me. That was my why. It was like me stepping into the next half of my life.
I gotcha.
Okay? So there's my why, and now what's my who? Who am I doing this for? Who is going to potentially be inspired by me doing this? Number one, I know my daughter. My daughter's
Mm-hmm.
watching me do this. She's going to be inspired. And you know what? There's going to be some other women. In fact, I know some women in particular on my team who are going to be inspired by this. And so I dedicated that jump to those 5 people.
Okay.
I said, this is who I'm doing it for,
Yeah.
right? So you have your why, you have your who, you visualize it. And then the fourth thing that I did was I put myself in an imaginary love bubble.
Okay.
A love bubble of safety. When you are in a love bubble, like nothing can hurt you. You are safe. You are in God's hands, right? And
Yeah.
so I envision myself in a love bubble because I'm obviously doing something that could potentially be risky, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I envision my love bubble. So I think anybody, when you do something scary, put yourself in a love bubble. That's all you need to do. And then want to know what the fifth thing is? You're gonna love this one.
Well, what's the fifth thing?
The fifth thing that you need to do to do something successfully outside of your comfort zone, in addition to the why, the who, the visualization, the love bubble, is you need to have a song.
A song?
A song.
Okay. Because I'm
John, you got
thinking
a
about
song
that.
for everything. I know you do. You are a music man.
I
And
am.
so I needed to have a song. In fact, when I was running for agency owner, I had a song that I would play
Okay.
over and over that inspired me, right? When I was running for Go Direct, I had a song, I had a playlist, right? So when I woke up that morning, I was like, oh, in fact, the morning of the bungee, you want to know what song came to me?
I was just about to ask. What was that song?
I woke up the morning, and by the way, the bungee was the last day. I went through all 5 days tortured, but I was like, okay, I'm getting ready. I'm at my why, my who, I'm visualizing, got my love bubble, I'm doing it. And then the morning of the bungee jump, I woke up and I had George Michael's song Faith
I got you.
playing in my head.
Yeah.
Cause I gotta have faith, the faith, the faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta have faith, the faith, the faith, right? I kid you not. And that song, I listened to it over and over and over all the way. Like that morning, I listened to it all the way in the bus. Cause I gotta have faith, the faith. I was so scared. I was
I'm
so
scared to
scared.
listen to this story.
Right? I was so scared. And so then I'm on the bus and the lady's like, who wants to go first? And you know what? I don't know who did this, but this happened. It wasn't me.
Okay.
It wasn't me, but all of a sudden this happened. My hand shot up in the air. I was like, let's get this over with.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm in the first group and they had to de-ice. It was cold that day. They had to de-ice the cables. We went over there. I'm standing. I didn't have to go first. This girl went first. She jumped, and all of a sudden they look at me. They're like, "You're next." I'm next, and I just did it, John. I did it. I didn't even think about it. You know why? Because I had already thunk about it. I had already thought, all the thoughts. I didn't need to think anymore. I just had to execute. And you know what? I jumped off that bungee like a boss.
Mm,
It was
mm.
amazing. It
Wow.
was so, so amazing. So those are I think the keys to stepping out of your comfort zone. And if you can do that on a regular basis, you're growing.
Yeah. So I'm here to have a meaning. Have a why on why you're doing it. Got to visualize it. Got to visualize the success. Know who you're doing it for. And I love this your imaginary love bubble. I did like that. And they have a song in mind. You know what, sir? I never went bungee jumping. I have this zip lining. I was in Jamaica. And so I realized I'm done. So now the only thing I do dangerous is eat church's chicken when I'm trying to lose weight.
Churches is the best.
That's my level of danger. Like, you think it costs a heart attack one day, John.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. But hey, you did it though, and that's amazing. I was just cringing thinking about it. How high was the mountain when you jumped from it?
You know what? I have a t-shirt, but down there they use like meters, and I don't know. It was really it was over it was like between two mountains, and it was like down there's like a ravine down at the bottom. It was pretty I think it was like one of the second or third tallest bungees in the world, maybe something like that.
Man, I tell you, it would be a lot of rain on the people below me if I would have did that. They're like, son, why is it raining on me? Oh, I'm afraid of heights. Always have been. So, Sarah, the last question though, because you started in 2012, and you say you don't quit, don't give up, grow. So, how's your life different now, 12 years later? What the industry did for you?
I don't even recognize my own life. I mean, I didn't even have a vision for it back then because this opportunity has forced me to dream bigger. I don't even recognize my own life. I mean, I didn't even have a vision for it back then because this opportunity has forced me to dream bigger and then dream bigger and then dream bigger. And I'm at a point right now, John, where I want to grow my capacity to dream even bigger and then dream bigger and then dream bigger. And I'm at a point right now, John, where I want to grow my capacity to dream even bigger. Okay? Cuz when you grow your capacity, now you've got more room to step into. And if you keep your capacity small, your capacity will be small. And I don't want to do that. And so I'm doing the inner work. I'm doing the work that I need to do to grow myself, to let go, to maybe not try to control things so
Mhm.
much so that I can surrender and create more capacity in my life. Because when I do that, it's going to impact and help a lot of people.
Well, thank you, sir. You have been a truly wonderful guest. You have definitely made an impact in my life with Symmetry. Also, my wife Patricia, she just loves you. She really adores you.
Patricia, too. She's amazing.
Yeah, she is. She keep me straight because a lot of times people see me out front, and I tell people it's the person behind me. The
Hmm.
invisible is not the
Yes.
yeah, the indispensable. So she's always there, been my biggest cheerleader, taking me, but also giving me a path that I can follow
Mm.
through. So I do appreciate what she has done for the
You are a
agency.
lucky man, John Clayton.
I really am, and you know what? She's still dark. She doesn't have any great hair. I'm all gray, so she has youth on her side.
She has a
but
timeless beauty.
if someone want to reach out to you, sir, how can they get in contact with you? Are you on social media? You got a website. How can people get in contact?
Absolutely.
They
You
want
can
to get more
absolutely
information.
find me on Instagram at Sarah S. Pappas. That's Sarahs Pappas. Let's do Instagram, and then you can also go to the femfinancialpodcast.com. And I would love to connect. You can DM me, you can say hello, follow, like, share. Let's connect. Absolutely.
There we go. Y'all welcome, Sarah Pappas. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much for having me on. And John, you know what? Let me just edify you a little bit because I can remember meeting you for the first time and I knew you were going places. And I knew that you have the leadership that we're all getting to see right now. And so I love that you're stepping out and doing this podcast. And we just want to hear more from John Clayton. So thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me on.
Oh man, it was definitely was a pleasure. Thank you. We just wrapped up another episode of Simple Solutions. The question is, Did you catch the clues? Success isn't complicated. The answers are often simple, but only if you're willing to look for them and apply them. Keep pursuing your goals with passion. Remember, tough times don't last, but tough people do. Until next time, stay focused, stay driven, and keep finding the simple solutions.